Hi everyone! It is the first day of fall, and that means I am making soup. I'm so excited that it's the first day of fall. Now, it is 99 degrees today, so fall is relative here in California, especially here in the Central Valley, but I am going to embrace it no matter what, because I love fall and I love to make soup, and this is possibly the easiest soup ever because it involves many canned foods. So if you were ever on Weight Watchers in the late 90s, early 2000s, you probably already know this soup. It's called taco soup, or some people call it 9-can soup. There are many variations, and you can definitely add or subtract any of the things that you personally like yourself. The original recipe didn't have any fresh ingredients in it at all. It was all cans except for the ground beef. I do know that some people use canned chicken instead of beef. It works just as well. It's delicious. So the recipe involves these ingredients. This is my personal variation of this recipe, and this is what I like to put in it. Sometimes I add other things. I like to put lima beans in it, but I couldn't find any at the store, so I'm not going to do that. And I'm mostly working off of cans that were already in my house. The first thing I'm going to start out with is some shallots. Normally I would do a yellow onion, but I had shallots already, so that's what we're using. I've got about 4 cloves of garlic. I have a pound of ground beef, and then we're going to put in these fire roasted diced tomatoes, and I've got some Italian stewed tomatoes. My mom uses rotel instead. I am going to use some kidney, 1 can of kidney, 1 can of pinto beans, and I am going to add a can of whole kernel corn. I'm adding a can of carrots, and I'm going to add a little tiny can of whole peas. And I'm probably also going to add a bell pepper. If you're going according to the original recipe, you'll add a packet of ranch dressing seasoning and a packet of taco seasoning, and you throw it all in a pot and let it cook for an hour, and you're good to go, and it's delicious. So let's get started. All right, real quick, I'm gonna talk you through my taco seasoning, which I'm gonna add a couple extra things to. The first thing we're gonna start out with is cumin. Now, we want about twice as much cumin as everything else, so I'm just using my little 1/4 teaspoon here. So that's a full teaspoon of cumin. To that, I'm gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, and then 1/2 chili powder. Then I'm going to use 1/2 of cayenne. That's the whole of the taco seasoning, but I am going to add a couple of extra things just because I feel like it. So I'm going to add a little bit of ground mustard, and I always try and put a little bit of turmeric, which I know it's spelled incorrectly on my label. And then I'm going to put some ground black pepper, a couple of pinches of salt. To that, I'm gonna add my ranch dressing seasoning. You know, you're just gonna use a packet of ranch dressing seasoning. And that is our seasoning for our soup. I'm gonna start with my heat at about a 6, so a medium heat. We're gonna put just a little bit of oil in the bottom there. I'm using grapeseed oil again because I forgot to replenish my olive oil again. Put our shallots in. Okay, because it takes no time for shallots because they're so small, that took about a minute to get them a little translucent. We're going to add our bell pepper. I just like to cook the bell pepper a little at the beginning. It infuses the oil with a little bit of that pepper flavor. And once I've got them cooked down for another minute or so, then I'll add the garlic, and then we'll add the meat. I did add a little bit of salt and pepper to this while the peppers were cooking. This is about as translucent as I want them to be, so now I'm going to add the garlic. I'm just going to cook the garlic for like 30 seconds before I add the beef to it. We're about 30 seconds after I added the garlic. I'm going to add my ground beef. We're going to break that up as much as possible. We're just going to cook this until it's almost all the way cooked through. You can leave it a little pink because it's going to continue to cook when you add all the other ingredients. This has been in here for about 5 minutes. There's still a couple of little pink spots, but it's mostly cooked through. And now we're going to take our taco and ranch seasoning, and we're just going to put that all over. Mix that in. We kind of want to coat that onto all of this meat. Once we've got that, we're going to start adding our cans, and we are going to start with our tomatoes. Now, the coolest thing about this recipe is that you're going to use all of the juice from all of these cans to make your soup base. So I'm not draining anything. I'm going to leave all of that juice in there. And that is your soup base. Now at this point, I will probably salt and pepper this again. And then we're going to let this come to a boil, and then we will simmer it for an hour on low heat. Let's give it a try though. Oh, it's so soothing. Don't you just love soup in the fall? Mm. Yay! It's soup season! Make yourself some soup, folks, and have a great week.